Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cynthia, and I'm gonna kind of go back to the typical way I work on my channel, which is just to do an upload today. I recently made the kind of realization that I have enough signal strength now to do live streams, so I'm trying to decide how I want to do live streams, if I want to do them like a certain day of the week at a certain time, or... This is Stevie. I wanted to include him here because I feel like his energy can be helpful to the energy that I'm already kind of starting to channel about this reading today. And he's a part of my family. I adopted him from Oregon Humane Society. It's going on 11 years ago now, and he was 2 when I got him. They're pretty long-lived little birds. He's a green cheek conure. I just remembered I didn't turn the heat off. Give me a second here. You know, actually, I had turned the heat off. It's my mind messing with me because I always forget. So, anyways, they're long-lived little creatures. He could live to be 40, and he's, like I said, about almost 15 now. And I love him very much and cherish him. I've learned a lot sharing my life with this bird, and I'm hoping to share many more years with him. There are times that being in this relationship with him really teaches me a lot about even my own power and what does it mean to have a captive bird. I don't clip his wings, he flies, and you know, my goal is when I'm settled again to build him a little aviary outside so he can be outside safely. But it's a lot of complex power to have a captive bird because they're creatures of the air, and now here he is living in a human-made home, you know? So there's things like that always that I'm thinking about in my relationship with him, and he thinks of me as his mate, and so that's another thing that makes me sometimes sorrowful if I think too hard about it, because I'm not a bird, you know? Bird is the meaning of my last name, but still. Anyways, I love and cherish him, and his name is Stevie Pretty Feathers. That's his full name. I have lots and lots of nicknames for him. And I'm going to let him go kind of over there so that I can go start our reading. But part of the reason that part of the energy that I'm feeling for this layout is a feeling of deep loneliness and a sense of longing for your spiritual home. And the more that feeling pervaded this morning, the more I realized that it's to be done as a reading. Part of it is my own, because that's something that I'm going through, right? I've had a spiritual practice for a lot of my life, and I've been a helping professional for all of my adult life. And for many years, I kind of thought I had found my niche, and that's what I was to do, was to be in my discipline, doing my work. And over the last 10 years or so, everything about that perception of myself has turned upside down, and I've been in a process ever since that's been very intense and difficult at times, and I'm picking up on somebody's energy that's very similar. You've been on a similar process. You've been on a similar spiritual ascension path or spiritual growth path, and I'm tapped into energy in this collective of a sense of spiritual loneliness, like you're trying to find your new spiritual home. And so I wanted to do the reading because I share that feeling, and it's coming through really strongly today, so I don't think it's just me. I think a lot of people might feel like this today, and this reading might help us all, right? Not just me trying to help you, because I'm learning how to receive. And sometimes doing card readings like this, much like doing Reiki, I receive while I'm doing the reading. So it's not just something where I'm giving and not in a balance of being able to receive. I simultaneously receive a lot of times. So that's what I was feeling like today. So what should we know and do about this feeling of spiritual loneliness and a feeling of where is my spiritual home and why am I walking alone? Like I'm done on the alone path. There's a feeling of frustration or loneliness or why? Like why am I being in this timeout? Why am I continuing to be alone when I've been seeking and praying for my spiritual home? You might be at a crossroads of like, am I missing something? What is happening? Where is my spiritual home? There's a feeling right now that I'm just going to name also, and it comes through in readings sometimes when I'm reading for another seeker. That is, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, the Ace of Pentacles, which is the seed, and to just kind of riff on that a little bit or expand out from there, right before a seed breaks open with its first little roots, those little white roots that seeds put out there in the very early stages of bursting open. That's not a comfortable feeling right before the break open. There's a lot of building pressure. And that's the feeling that's coming through here, is you kind of simultaneously feel a lot of building pressure towards what's to come, and you know it's just within your reach, or it's just here, it's just beyond the horizon, it's right here. There's that building pressure while simultaneously feeling very lonely and lost and a little bit confused. So if this is not the energy you're in, it's probably not a reading for you. My little bird is somewhere that I need to make sure he's okay. I hear him over there. Are you all right? Where are you? Okay. He's okay. That's always the challenge of having him out while I'm doing readings, is that then it's a distraction a little bit. Okay, let's get to the layout here. Thank you for your patience. Where is our spiritual home? What should we know? What should we be feeling or experiencing about this process of frustration and pressure and loneliness and growth? On the bottom of the deck is the less cards. So in the Crowley deck, this means to me that we could all stand to use a little bit more fun right now and levity. And that might be hard to find in the current climate if you're tapped into what's happening in the 3D a lot. You're going to be a little hard pressed to find stuff to be joyful about unless you have a lot of subscriptions to like good news websites and stuff, right? And if you, so happiness is the cornerstone card here. Seeking of personal happiness. Where is the happiness, right? That's going to be the theme of this reading. And as you probably know, happiness is not a destination that you ever just arrive at. Like, oh yeah, I've achieved happiness. I say that as a talk therapist and someone who's on a soul growth path. Like happiness, you may have periods of happiness, but they'll always be followed by periods of sorrow. That's the dual nature of the 3D existence. So it's not like you achieve a state of happiness and then you've succeeded and now you don't have to worry about trying to be happy, right? Like, I guess you probably all know this, but I'm just saying it's easy to fall into the trap of like, if I only have these things, I'll be happy, without doing the inner work to be happy, right? You don't want to externalize it all. And that might be a vulnerability right now. Yeah, death. Your creative process is going through a death and rebirth, and you're in that birthing process with this Queen of Pentacles at the very center. You're about to give birth, just like we said with that Ace of Pentacles. This is figurative. It could be literal. Like there might be some moms on here that are about to give birth. I'm not trying to not see you, but this is also like, I'm giving birth to where is my new home, my new community, my new spiritual path, my new path in life, right? Like, I thought for years my path was as a clinical social worker employed by an employer, and that I would retire from there and spend most of my life in service in that way. And it's now come to be that no. And in fact, not only is the answer to that no, but it's almost like my life is now blocking those routes back to that old way for me, because I've set a lot of intentions of like, I want to move in a different direction that feels more fulfilling. But that comes with a lot of fear, because the old way was very gratifying for me for a long time. And that's what I'm sensing is picking up here. You're accurate. Your take on this is accurate, that you're going through the death and rebirth. You're conscious of the fact that it's challenging. You're conscious of the fact that you have stepped into a new type of authority for yourself. in your world. This is my life path card, the Emperor card, and it's telling me that that's how you feel, that you're stepping into your next life path, that you're on an alignment for the life path that feels right to your soul, and you're seeking the creative projects with your new community and your joy, and you're moving into a calmer place after maybe some of the harder parts of this transition. That's what's coming through. But what you're conscious of, or what this reading is doing for you, is showing you again that the transition is not over with. You might have went through some transition energy recently and you thought you might have been done. And this is saying you're not done. You're still transmuting some things and going through the death and rebirth of a dying to your old way and your old self. That's why it's uncomfortable and you're feeling this pressure and loneliness. It's very common and typical. But I'm also sensing that you know that, and it's sort of cold comfort. That's how I felt this morning. Like, I know all of this, but it's not bringing me much comfort. It's kind of like I ended up landing this morning on, like, today might be a day where I just hunker down, kind of hibernate, or go into like a torpor if we're talking about animals that go into like a different state of like hibernation, but it's called torpor, T-O-P-O-R. You might be going into a torpor state today. That's kind of what I felt like I just need to curl up. But then I started feeling driven to do this reading. So I had to listen for a while. Like, is that out of an old desire to just give, even when I'm tired? And finally the answer was like, no, it'll be uplifting and fulfilling for you. So your creative projects and old ways are changing. You're giving birth to the new, but the old way is still dying. Your devil wants you to be on the path and already starting. The devil on your shoulders like, let's go, let's get moving, let's start creating and connecting and loving and joining up. And something in your conscious mind is saying, not yet, there's something not right here, and that's okay, that's right to listen to. The devil on your shoulder isn't steering you wrong, but the devil on your shoulder is lonely, so it's wanting you to, it's like pushing you to make connections. And your higher mind right now is saying it's okay to hold out until it feels more like what you're seeking and not like the old way. It's that liminal space between what is the new, I'm not sure yet, right? It's that confusion, but you're creating it. That's what is important for you to understand, is that by holding your candle or holding your flame for what you actually are creating, that's the right move. Sorry, I hope I'm making it clear. You don't want to fall into an old pattern due to anxiety. That's what it's saying. Like, don't start scrambling around reaching out to people because you're lonely, because they might not be the right connections. And then you've got to go through this whole cycle of like, these connections are draining me and now I have to set boundaries again, right? So it's something like that. Like, you don't want to recreate the old paradigm here, and there might be a vulnerability to that. Like for me, going from being just a talk therapist to also now marketing myself, marketing is kind of a gross term, but whatever, we're in the world of the monetary, into more esoteric based practices in addition to talk therapy, that's been a challenge at times because it is a paradigm shift, but there's also a lot of common threads running through all of those practices. And so sometimes all of my different parts or identities get a little confused about what's the right direction because there's so much similar energy in all of those. So that's coming through. What's some advice for you right now? Seeking your spiritual home. It's okay, Queen of Swords. It's okay to keep having strong boundaries for things that don't feel anything but like the blissful upliftment, levity, light energy that you're trying to create for yourself. It's okay to keep having a boundary until those energies start finding their way to you. That's first and foremost. And you're on your way. You are manifesting it. So this might be helpful to just ground you and know you're right, you're okay. It's okay to know that you're going through the death and rebirth, and just go into a torpor or a stasis today and just allow your manifestations to keep going on their own energy, right? You can trust the work you've already done. Yeah, you're right at the threshold. You're right there. You're right there. You're seeing clearly. And you're tapping into your heart in the way that your soul has been calling for you to do. You're right on your path. This is to confirm that for you. And this is to be in a collective energy with you for myself also, because I woke up in the energy myself of feeling lonely. That's just from my own personal experience and soul's growth. There's some similar challenges for me, and you might be feeling like this with activism. Like my activism, I'm an activist. But on a spiritual path, that can be challenging, because if you're trying to ascend spiritually, part of what you do is cut cords to the 3D. But you don't, I mean, we're not ephemeral beings physically, we're still here. So we have to kind of, it's a hard journey to know, like, I want to be active and fighting for justice for people in the 3D. And at some point I have to cut cords with that because it's blocking my own spiritual growth. That might be coming in for you. And that has been true for me, understanding what is my new role in fighting for justice and liberation for people experiencing oppression and lack of safety. Part of it for me has been making even more of a shift towards just making art for the movement and doing less like yelling and, you know, communicating my angst. It's more about communicating what I want to see for the future. Something like Just Seeds Art Collective, right? So it might be something like that. Helping you make that kind of a shift. Cutting cords to the old. I cannot make it up. It's happening twice here. It's okay. Plus this Ace of Swords and the Death card and the Magician, you're on your right path. It's okay to be cutting these cords to the old way. The old way might be tugging at you because there might be relationships that sense it and that don't want you to go, right? Or that are trying to pull you back in. And I'm not saying that is malicious or anything like that. It's just that sometimes that's how energy works, and people might be trying to pull you back into your old role. And you're trying not to be in that role anymore, right? Sometimes it takes the world around you some time, a minute to adjust to what you're doing also. And you might be feeling that tension that the world around you is in conflict with what you're doing. So you feel resistance against your growth. That's coming through. Sun and choice. You have a choice to make to keep following your path. And this reading today can help you say you're doing just great. You're on the right path. Your community is coming. You're continuing to follow your heart, and that is your right move. Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups. Nine of Cups. You're on the right path to your happiness, to your new era. This is the Judgment Day. It's the dying of the old. You're right where you need to be. You're right where you need to be, and that helps me. I want to just be in that moment together for a minute. We're right where we need to be. And I'm sending out good vibes and Reiki energy to you that we're okay. The people here in this collective catching this reading that are trying to find your new soul family, your new home, your new spiritual home, your new life, your new path, people that are at a major crossroads, we're on the right path and we can trust that. Yeah, we're finding each other. So what's some good tying it together messages for us for the day or for the current energy, wherever and whenever this finds you? What are some good takeaways? It's times like this that it's like I don't want the reading to end because it feels good, because I do feel like I'm connecting with my soul family here and in my soul path and doing my right alignment. So it starts to become like it's all I want to do. But even that is something I'm learning to manage, right? Like I can't and shouldn't do this all the time, right? I need to rest even from something like this. Oops. Well, two wanted to come out, so I'll just do all of them. Tenderness with the inner child. Do not cast your pearls before swine. Breathe deeply and replenish yourself. Rest. Tune into your own heartbeat. Dark arrows, use caution, lower your profile. I don't think I can say or need to say any more than that. Those cards state it perfectly. This death and rebirth comes with it some energy that, you know, not everybody's coming with you. There might be past scenarios, past imprints, past relationships that are not going to be happy with this change that you're making in these cords that you're cutting. That's why it's even more important at a time like this to lower your profile and just go into self-care, torpor, hibernate, self-care mode, envision what you want, tune into your own heart. It's really going to be helpful for you today to do that. I'm definitely going to follow this advice and go into my own energy, do things like this. This was the first step for me today, was paying attention and doing a reading. And be tender with your own inner children. Take care of yourself, breathe deeply, rest, comfort your own inner children, and especially don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't give your energy to the old way. That's the message. And the old way might be pulling on you a little bit, and this is some final efforts on your end to really bring in the new by cutting cords to the old. And I'm not saying that in like a, doesn't mean be mean or whatever. Cutting cords is not a cruel process. It's an energy process to preserve and protect your own energy, and honestly to protect others' energy in the equation if you're cutting cords. Because let's say you have a relationship that's feels fraught, when you cut cords with them, it also frees the other person's energy out of that fraught energy, not only your own but the other person. So it's a healthy practice. When they're really intimate relationships like mother and child, that's different. You have to think more about that, right? But we're talking about cutting ties to the old way, cutting cords to the past, cutting cords to the old you, the old paradigm. It's not coming with you. It's okay. And putting yourself first is going to be an essential part of that, is what I'm picking up here. So I'm sending you love, solidarity, deep respect, and just love and care across the distance. Take good care, all right? I'll see you next time.